Grandma left me everything, but my aunt and uncle are saying I stole it from her when she was weak and vulnerable. I'm 25 female and honestly, I'm still trying to wrap my head around everything that has happened in the last few weeks. This is probably going to be long, so bear with me. I have been a long-time lurker on Reddit, mostly on our relationship advice and our AITAH, but I never thought I would actually be posting here myself. But here we are. Let's call my grandma Rose. Rose was my dad's mom. My dad passed away a few years ago from cancer. It was really tough, and honestly, I still miss him every day. My relationship with my grandma Rose was always kind of distant. She wasn't really a warm, fuzzy grandma type. She was more of a formal, kept-to-herself kind of person. After my dad died, we saw each other even less. It wasn't like we had a falling out or anything, just drifted apart, you know how it is. My dad had two siblings, my Aunt Carol and my Uncle Mark. They are both, well, let's just say they are something else. Aunt Carol has always been obsessed with money and status. She married rich, divorced richer, and is constantly bragging about her latest luxury purchases. Uncle Mark is kind of a leech. He's always looking for a handout and has never really held down a steady job. He always seemed to be in some kind of financial trouble and constantly asked my dad and Grandma Rose for money over the years. It caused a lot of tension in the family, especially between my dad and Uncle Mark. Anyway, Grandma Rose passed away last month. It was expected. She was quite old and had been unwell for a while, but still sad, of course. I went to the funeral, saw Aunt Carol and Uncle Mark. They were their usual selves, Aunt Carol dressed head to toe in designer black, Uncle Mark looking slightly disheveled but trying to appear important. We exchanged polite words, nothing much. Honestly, I didn't expect to hear anything from them again after the funeral. Then, about a week later, I got a call from a lawyer. Mr. Davison, he said his name was. He informed me that Grandma Rose had left a will and I was named as the sole beneficiary. I was shocked, completely and utterly shocked. I mean, I knew Grandma Rose was reasonably well off. She had inherited money from her parents and had always been careful with it. But I had no idea she was that asterisk well off. Mr. Davison explained that she had left me her entire estate, her house, her investments, everything. He said it was a substantial amount. I'm talking millions. I almost dropped the phone. I asked Mr. Davison if there was some mistake. Surely she meant to leave it to Aunt Carol and Uncle Mark, her own children, right? He assured me there was no mistake. The will was very clear. I was the sole beneficiary. He said Grandma Rose had specifically stated in her will that she wanted everything to go to me. He couldn't tell me the exact reasons why, just that it was her clear and stated wish. He asked me to come to his office to discuss things further and start the probate process. I went to the lawyer's office a couple of days later. It was all very surreal. Signing papers, talking about assets, it felt like I was in a movie. Mr. Davison explained that he had already informed Aunt Carol and Uncle Mark about the will. He said they were not happy. That was an understatement if ever I heard one. He advised me to expect some pushback from them. He said they might try to contest the will, given the size of the estate and the fact that they were excluded. He told me not to worry, he would handle everything, but to be prepared for things to get messy. And messy they have gotten. Oh boy, have they gotten messy. The day after I met with Mr. Davison, I got a call from Aunt Carol. I answered, thinking maybe she was calling to congratulate me, or at least be civil. I was so wrong. She launched into a tirade. She accused me of manipulating Grandma Rose, of preying on her when she was old and vulnerable, of somehow coercing her into changing her will. She said it was disgusting, that I was a greedy, opportunistic little, well, you can imagine the rest. She was screaming so loudly I had to hold the phone away from my ear. I tried to get a word in, to explain that I had no idea about any of this, that I was just as surprised as she was. But she wouldn't let me speak. She just kept yelling and shouting. Then Uncle Mark got on the phone. He was somehow even worse. He accused me of stealing from his mother, of robbing him and Aunt Carol of their rightful inheritance. He said I was a disgrace to the family name. He actually said that, family name. Like we are some kind of royal dynasty, and I had somehow sullied our noble lineage by inheriting money. It was laughable if it wasn't so upsetting. They both kept saying Grandma Rose would never have done this if she was in her right mind. They insisted I must have somehow tricked her, that she was probably suffering from dementia or something, and I had taken advantage of her, which is completely untrue. Grandma Rose was old, yes, but she was sharp as a tack right up until the end. and she was definitely not someone who could be easily manipulated. If anything, she was the manipulator. I tried to stay calm, but honestly, their accusations were hurtful and infuriating. I told them that Grandma Rose was an adult. She was perfectly capable of making her own decisions, and if she chose to leave her money to me, that was her right. I said I didn't ask for this, I didn't expect it, but I wasn't going to refuse it either. It was Grandma Rose's money to do with as she pleased. I told them to take it up with her. Oh, wait, they can't, can they? That really set them off. They started threatening legal action. They said they were going to contest the will, that they would prove I had unduly influenced Grandma Rose, that they would drag me through the courts and expose me for the gold digger I apparently am. They said they would make my life a living hell. Charming, I hung up on them. I couldn't listen to it anymore. I was shaking with anger and upset. I called Mr. Davison and told him everything. He said he wasn't surprised. He said this is exactly what he expected. He reassured me that the will was legally sound and very difficult to contest successfully. He said he would send them a letter formally informing them that their allegations were baseless and defamatory, and advising them to drop their threats. He also suggested I block their numbers and avoid any contact with them. Good advice, I thought, so I blocked Aunt Carol and Uncle Mark's numbers. I thought that would be the end of it, at least for a while. I was wrong. They started contacting me through social media. Facebook messages, Instagram DMs, even LinkedIn requests for real. It was relentless. More accusations, more insults, more threats. They were posting nasty things about me online to mutual friends and family members, trying to turn everyone against me. It was like a full-on smear campaign. I deactivated my social media accounts. It was just too much. I felt like I was being bombarded from all sides. I just wanted to grieve for my grandma in peace, but instead I was dealing with this nightmare. I started to feel really stressed and anxious. I couldn't sleep properly. I was constantly on edge, waiting for the next attack. It was affecting my work, my relationships, everything. My best friend, Kylie, has been amazing through all of this. She's been so supportive and understanding. She listened to me vent for hours. She made me cups of tea. She even came over and helped me block all their email addresses and set up filters to automatically delete anything from them. She's a lifesaver, honestly. She kept telling me to focus on myself, to ignore them, to trust the legal process. She said they were just trying to bully me into giving up, but I shouldn't let them win. Kylie actually said, "Why don't you just give them some money and make them go away?" I thought about it, to be honest, just to get rid of the hassle, to make them stop harassing me. But then I thought, no, why should I? This is Grandma Rose's money, she wanted me to have it. And Aunt Carol and Uncle Mark are acting like such entitled assholes. Why should I reward their bad behavior? Plus, if I give them money now, where does it stop? They'll probably just keep coming back for more. And honestly, they don't deserve a penny, so I decided to stand my ground. I told Mr. Davison I wanted to proceed with the probate process, and I would fight any attempt to contest the will. He said he was fully prepared to defend the will in court if necessary. He said he was confident we would win. That made me feel a bit better. A few weeks went by. Things were relatively quiet, at least on the surface. I still got the occasional nasty email or message from Aunt Carol or Uncle Mark, usually from some fake account or burner email address, but I mostly ignored them. Mr. Davison sent them a formal letter, as he said he would, basically telling them to back off. I don't know if it had any effect, but they seemed to have toned down their direct attacks, at least for a while. Then last week I got a letter in the mail. Not an email, a real paper letter. It was from a different law firm. Turns out Aunt Carol and Uncle Mark had hired their own lawyer. The letter stated that they were formally contesting Grandma Rose's will. They were alleging undue influence, lack of testamentary capacity, and all sorts of other legal jargon I didn't really understand. Basically, they were claiming that Grandma Rose wasn't of sound mind when she made the will, and that I had somehow manipulated her into leaving everything to me. I forwarded the letter to Mr. Davison. He called me straight away. He said, "Don't worry, this is just standard procedure. They have to file a formal challenge to the will if they want to contest it." He said it doesn't mean they have a strong case, it just means they are going to try. He said he would prepare a response and start gathering evidence to defend the will. He said this could take a while, possibly months, even years if they really drag it out. Great. I asked Mr. Davison what kind of evidence they would need to prove their claims. He said they would probably try to get Grandma Rose's medical records to see if she had any cognitive impairment. They might try to interview her doctors, nurses, anyone who had contact with her in the months before she died. They might even try to subpoena me to give a deposition, which sounds terrifying. He said the best thing I could do was to cooperate fully with him, to provide him with any information he needed, and to try to stay calm and patient. Easy for him to say, he's not the one being accused of being a manipulative gold digger. I talked to Kylie again. She was furious on my behalf. She couldn't believe Aunt Carol and Uncle Mark were being so awful. She said, "You know what, maybe Grandma Rose knew exactly what she was doing when she left everything to you. Maybe she knew her own children were greedy and entitled and didn't deserve it. Maybe she saw something in you that they didn't have. Maybe she actually liked you more than them, for real." That made me feel a little bit better. Then Kylie had another idea. She said, "Why don't we do some digging of our own? See if we can find out anything about Aunt Carol and Uncle Mark that might, well, help our case." I was hesitant at first. It felt a bit sneaky, but then I thought they are literally trying to destroy my life. Fair is fair, right? So Kylie and I started doing some internet sleuthing. Aunt Carol is pretty easy to find online. She's all over social media, bragging about her fancy lifestyle. We found pictures of her lavish vacations, her designer clothes, her expensive cars. We even found articles about her in society magazines, talking about her charitable work and her fabulous parties. It was all very Aunt Carol. Uncle Mark was a bit harder to track down. He's not as flashy as Aunt Carol. But we did find some interesting things. Turns out, Uncle Mark has a long history of financial problems. We found court records of lawsuits for unpaid debts, tax liens, even a bankruptcy filing from a few years ago. We also found some articles about a failed business venture he was involved in, which apparently left a lot of investors out of pocket. Oops. And then, we found something really interesting. It was an online forum, a kind of support group for people who had been, let's just say, taken advantage of by family members. There were posts from people talking about relatives who had borrowed money and never paid it back, who had manipulated them into signing over assets, who had generally just been financially abusive. And guess who we found mentioned in one of the threads? Uncle Mark. Someone was posting about their experiences with a family member, let's call him Marvin. Marvin had apparently borrowed a large sum of money from them, promising to pay it back with interest, but then had disappeared and cut off all contact. The poster described Marvin in detail, and the description matched Uncle Mark perfectly. They even mentioned the failed business venture we had found articles about. It was definitely him. We dug a little deeper and found more posts about Marvin, all from different people, all with similar stories. It seemed like Uncle Mark or Marvin had a pattern of borrowing money from people, promising to pay it back and then just vanishing. It was like he was running some kind of con. I was shocked. I knew Uncle Mark wasn't great with money, but I had no idea he was this bad. This predatory. I showed everything we found to Mr. Davison. He was impressed, to say the least. He said this was potentially very helpful. It showed a pattern of behavior, a history of financial irresponsibility and dishonesty. It could be used to argue that Uncle Mark was not a responsible person to inherit a large sum of money, and that Grandma Rose may have been aware of this when she made her will. He said he would investigate further and see if he could use this information in our defense. He also said, and this is important, that we should be very careful with this information. We shouldn't share it with anyone, especially not Aunt Carol or Uncle Mark, or post it online. He said it could be considered defamation, and it could backfire on us. He said we should only use it in court through proper legal channels. Okay, fair enough. So we are now in this waiting game. Mr. Davison is preparing our legal defense. Aunt Carol and Uncle Mark are presumably doing whatever they are doing to try to prove their case. I'm trying to stay sane and not let this whole thing consume my life. It's hard, though. It's really hard. I never asked for any of this. I just wanted to live my life in peace. Now I'm in the middle of a family war, fighting over money I didn't even know existed until a few weeks ago. I still don't know why Grandma Rose left everything to me. Mr. Davison said he can't disclose the specifics of her reasoning due to client confidentiality, but I have my theories. Maybe she did know about Uncle Mark's financial issues and didn't want to give him a windfall that he would just squander. Maybe she didn't approve of Aunt Carol's materialistic lifestyle. Maybe she just liked me better. Who knows? Whatever her reasons, I am determined to honor her wishes and not let Aunt Carol and Uncle Mark bully me out of what is rightfully mine. It's going to be a long and difficult road, I know. but I am ready to fight. I have a good lawyer, I have supportive friends, and I have Reddit. So, Reddit, tell me, AITAH for accepting this inheritance and fighting my aunt and uncle. Am I wrong for not just giving them some money to make them go away? What would you do in my situation? Thoughts, Update 1. Wow, I am honestly blown away by the response to my post. Thank you all for the overwhelming support and advice. I've been reading all your comments, and it's really helped me feel less alone and more confident in my decisions. So many of you are saying yada, and that I should definitely not give Aunt Carol and Uncle Mark anything. You are all right. Why should I reward their horrible behavior? They are acting like spoiled children, throwing a tantrum because they didn't get what they wanted. I am not going to give in to their bullying. A lot of you are also saying that Grandma Rose probably had good reasons for leaving everything to me, and that I should try to find out what those reasons were. That's a good point. I did ask Mr. Davison if he could give me any more information, but he said he was legally bound by client confidentiality and couldn't disclose anything specific. However, he did suggest that I might be able to find some clues in Grandma Rose's personal papers, if I was able to access them. He said that once the probate process is further along, I would likely be granted access to her house and belongings. So, that's what I decided to do. As soon as Mr. Davison gave me the green light, I went to Grandma Rose's house. It was strange being there without her. The house felt empty and quiet. It was exactly as I remembered it, though. Old-fashioned, a bit cluttered, but clean and tidy. I started going through her things carefully and respectfully. It was a bit like stepping back in time. There were old photographs, letters, diaries, all sorts of personal items. I spent hours going through everything. It was actually kind of fascinating, learning more about Grandma Rose's life. I found pictures of her as a young woman. She was actually really beautiful. I found letters from my grandfather. They were so sweet and romantic. It gave me a whole new perspective on her. I realized I didn't really know her at all, and then I found it. Tucked away in a drawer in her desk in a small, locked box. I found the key in another drawer, thankfully. Inside the box were some more papers and a letter. The letter was addressed to me. It was from Grandma Rose. It was dated just a few months before she passed away. My hands were shaking as I opened it and started to read. In the letter, Grandma Rose explained everything. She said she had been watching me over the years, even though we weren't close. She said she admired my work ethic, my kindness, my independence. She said she saw a lot of my dad in me, and that made her happy and proud. She said she knew Aunt Carol and Uncle Mark were only interested in her money, and that they would squander it and cause trouble if she left it to them. She said she wanted her money to go to someone who would appreciate it, who would use it wisely, who would honor her memory. And that person was me. She wrote about Aunt Carol's obsession with wealth and status, how she had always been materialistic and shallow. She wrote about Uncle Mark's financial irresponsibility and dishonesty, how he had constantly borrowed money and never paid it back, how he had hurt so many people with his scams and schemes. She said she had tried to help them both over the years, but they had never learned their lesson. She said she had finally realized that giving them more money would only enable their bad behavior and make things worse. She said she knew this decision would cause conflict and upset, but she felt it was the right thing to do. She said she trusted me to handle the inheritance responsibly and to use it to build a good life for myself. She ended the letter by saying she loved me and that she was proud to call me her granddaughter. I was in tears by the time I finished reading the letter. It was so moving and heartfelt. It explained everything. It confirmed my suspicions about Aunt Carol and Uncle Mark, and it validated Grandma Rose's decision to leave everything to me. It also made me feel incredibly grateful and honored. Grandma Rose actually did like me. She did trust me. She did believe in me. Even though we weren't close, she saw something in me that was worth investing in. That means the world to me. I took the letter to Mr. Davison. He read it and he said, "Wow." He said, "This is amazing." He said this letter is basically gold. It clearly explains Grandma Rose's reasons for excluding Aunt Carol and Uncle Mark, and for choosing me as her beneficiary. He said it would be very powerful evidence in court, and it would make it even harder for them to contest the will successfully. He also said it was incredibly touching and personal, and that it showed a side of Grandma Rose that he hadn't seen before. He said it was clear she had put a lot of thought and care into her decision, and that she had made the right choice. I agree. I think she did too. So, update 2 coming soon, hopefully with good news about the legal battle. Thank you again for all your support and encouragement. It really means a lot. I will keep you all updated on how things progress. And thank you, Grandma Rose, wherever you are. I won't let you down. Update 2. Hello again, Reddit. Just wanted to give you all a quick update on the inheritance situation. And I have good news. Actually, really good news. Remember that letter from Grandma Rose I found? The one where she explained why she left everything to me and nothing to Aunt Carol and Uncle Mark. Well, Mr. Davison used that letter in our legal response to their will contest. He presented it to their lawyer, along with all the evidence we had gathered about Uncle Mark's shady financial history and Aunt Carol's, well, let's just say, less than stellar character. Apparently, it had a major impact. Aunt Carol and Uncle Mark's lawyer contacted Mr. Davison a few days later. They said their clients were reconsidering their position. Translation: they realized they had no chance of winning and were about to waste a lot of money on legal fees for nothing. After a few days of back and forth and some tense negotiations, we reached a settlement. Aunt Carol and Uncle Mark agreed to drop their will contest completely. In exchange, I agreed to, well, nothing actually. They got absolutely nothing. Mr. Davison advised me not to give them a penny, and honestly, I was more than happy to follow his advice. They had put me through so much stress and harassment, they didn't deserve anything. And Grandma Rose wouldn't have wanted me to give them anything either, I'm sure of it. So, the will is now officially probated. I am the legal owner of Grandma Rose's entire estate. It's still a bit surreal, to be honest. I keep expecting to wake up and find out it was all a dream, but it's real. I am now a millionaire. Wow, that's still weird to say. I haven't heard from Aunt Carol or Uncle Mark directly since the settlement was reached, which is a huge relief. I'm sure they are furious, but at least they are finally leaving me alone. I am planning to keep it that way. I have no desire to have any further contact with them. They are toxic and unpleasant people, and I am better off without them in my life. I am still figuring out what to do with the inheritance. It's a lot of money and a lot of responsibility. I am definitely going to be smart with it. I'm going to invest wisely, pay off my debts, and maybe buy a small house. I'm not going to go crazy and start living a lavish lifestyle like Aunt Carol. That's just not me. I want to use this money to build a secure future for myself and maybe help others along the way. That's what I think Grandma Rose would have wanted. So that's the end of the story, Reddit. A positive ending just like you all hoped for. Thank you again for all your support and advice. It really helped me get through a tough time. And thank you, Grandma Rose, for everything. Rest in peace. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you.